Today we are going to understand about the Guidewire product architecture as a whole. What all the products, what are the different product type of products Guidewire as a whole will contain. Okay, and what are the different methodologies used in the Guidewire? We call it as Guidewire configuration technology. The Guidewire platform. The Guidewire platform is nothing but the studio. I'm going to have a walkthrough of the Guidewire studio. Okay, and there is a training app which comes with the package of the Guidewire. The training app is specifically designed for the developers to train, right? If someone is learning the Guidewire, right? So Guidewire has provided a basic application so that you can learn the development techniques, basic techniques in the training app before jumping directly to the claim center, billing center, policy center. So why Guidewire has recommended training app is this is a very much lightweighted application. So you can do all the hands-on the training app, and after that you can jump onto the uh, claim center. If you are learning claim center specifically, right? All the concepts which you have learned in the training app, you can apply in the claim center. So we'll be using training app in this particular class for
Mhm.
all our lab sessions, specifically for development lab sessions. And we have some techno-functional lab sessions also, which will be uh, doing in the claim center only.
Mhm.
And about the Guidewire application, so as you all know that Guidewire has three applications: Policy Center, Billing Center, Claim Center, and there is also one more minor application along with these three, that is Contact Manager. So Contact Manager is not used that much widely as Policy Center, Billing Center, Claim Center are used. But yes, this is just for managing the contacts. Okay, and most of the clients doesn't use the contact manager; they only use PCBC and CC. And for uh, contact management, managing all the contact information, they use some legacy systems.
Mhm.
Okay, but yes, Guidewire has a contact management uh, in it. And then um, going through the Guidewire Studio, and I'll be showing you where to write the code and where to debug the code, where is the console, all those stuffs,
Mhm.
right? So Guidewire specifically, uh, it behaves as a record management system. So what record Guidewire has is stored? Guidewire store the record which is specific to the insurance. So Policy Center is a management system of the record which is related to the policy. Billing Center is the management system of the record which is related to the billing information, like in creating invoices, okay, um, sending the payment reminders, and Claim Center is for managing the data related to the claim. Suppose the claim comes into the picture, right, from on a policy. So for managing all the records of the claim, right, where the incident has been happened. Okay, suppose there is a personal auto policy, right? An accident has been happened. So the claimant will claim the policy. So it will enter all its detail in the claim center, right? So we call whenever the customer is creating a claim, right, in the claim center. So they will be entering some information, right? They'll first enter the information about the policy number, what is their policy number, and then they will enter the information about the incident which has happened with them, right? The accident.
Mhm.
They'll provide the location information. They will provide the driver's information. Who was the driver? Okay, and how many people were there sitting in the car, and what is the exact location of that, right? And what are the damages? All those information will be feed in by the one which is creating the claim. So as we said, right, in case of claim center, all these information are fed by the customer service representative, who is the first one to uh, to be approached by the claimant. So this is the data management system. Claim Center is a data management system of the claims. So all the data related to a particular claim, all the claim handling would be done in the Claim Center, starting from the entering the claim to the payment of the payment, check payments and creating the reserves and all the investigations which happens on the claim. Okay, and apart from this, Guidewire also connects to the third-party systems as well. Apart from Policy Center, Billing Center, Claim Center, there are so many and number of external systems, right? So which Guidewire connects throughout the life cycle of a claim. Okay, so I'll give you one example. Suppose there is a third-party system which will give us the information about the previous claims, past claims on that policy, right? So when customer service representative is entering the claim data, right? So we can have a functionality in Guidewire that it will talk to the third-party system, which is previous claim record management system. Okay, and it will send the data for that particular, like this particular person for this particular policy has been already claimed or not, or is it just a first time claim? So it will send the data to the third party system and it will receive the data in yes or no. Yes, this particular policy has been claimed already. So it is a second time claim. So based on that, the claim, further investigation will occur in the claim center, and also the amount which needs to be paid by to the claimant will be decided by the adjudicators. So this is an example of the external system. So like this, we have n number of external systems in the claim center. So and claim center is also integrated internally to the policy center as well. So policy center also behaves as an external system to the claim center, right? Because what as soon as the customer service representative will type in the data of means policy number in the claim center, right? It will fetch all the information of the policy from the policy center. So there is an integration with policy center and the claim center also. Okay, so based on that, the further investigation should be happening in claim center. So it's a combination of internal access, data management, and external access. So we have already covered about this policy billing and claim. This is how our studio looks like. Can I start a slideshow here? Where I can get the slideshow? Can you help me?
View.
Okay, yeah. Yes. So we have Guidewire application is a 3-tier application. We have a database server, we have an application server, and we have a web client server. So we'll go through each tier one by one. So what is the database server? So in the back end, whatever the data we are getting from the customer care service representative, right, feeding in the claim value, right, it will be stored in the tabular format, right, somewhere. Right? So as we have in Java, right, in Java and in .NET, we have SQL server. So in SQL server, we have different tables where the data is stored, and these tables are interrelated to each other, right? Similarly, in Guidewire also there is a database server. So mostly in US market, US and Canadian market, clients use SQL Server as for database. Okay, but for local development and local testing of the development, so developers use S2 database, which comes with inbuilt guidewires out of the box. Okay, we do not need to set up any database for that. We can it comes inbuilt with that. Once we install the Guidewire, right, it will automatically will get installed. Okay. So all the data will be stored in the database server. All the application logic, right? We are writing the code here, right? We are writing the logical uh, behavior of the application. All the rules, all the business rules will be written in the application layer. Okay, all the classes which we need to define in the application layer. And there is a web client layer which will include the UI part of the application, right?
Mhm.
So in the backend, we have the business rules and the database server, and this web client is the front end. So we don't in Guidewire we don't have to use front end, like we don't have to use uh, different front end technologies, right? React, Angular, all those stuff, right? HTML, CSS. We don't have to use that because Guidewire internally it comes with a complete package. So there is a concept named uh, page configuration file. It's a drag and drop concept. So we are going to use to do the we are going to use PCF file to do any changes in the UI for that, and it's a drag and drop.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of all these three layers. Whenever we say that we are a developer, right? So we should have a knowledge on all the three uh, places. And apart from this, the tier four, right? So we have the core tier three logic here, but we have a one more tier as tier four, which is nothing but the integration with the third party applications. As I've already given you one example, right? So
Mhm.
another example can be the authentication server. Suppose someone is logging into the policy center, right? So the all the credentials and the permissions, there might be some third party system which would be checking, which would be containing the data, who should have what permissions, right? Who should have the login permissions to the claim center. So during the login, we'll call the authentication server, that is third party system, and third party system will send us the response back that yes, this particular guy has the access and the application will be logged. Okay, so this is another example of integration in any application. Okay,
Mhm.
in irrespective of policy center, billing center, and claim center. So you can see that we have a policy for claim center. We have an integration with the policy admin, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and there are throughout the life cycle of a claim, right? There can be multiple documents which can be generated, right? So those generated documents should have a repository. So to make the Guidewire as a light-weighted application, just to store the data related to the particular claim, right? So
Mhm.
not to make the application heavy, clients generally recommend to have uh, an external document storage system. So in US and Canadian market, most of the client use image write system to store the
Mhm.
document. So what they will do from Claim Center, they will send the metadata to the uh, document storage system, and document storage system will store the document, and it will create a public ID, okay, to uniquely identify that document. So at later stage of time, if we want to retrieve that particular document right from the Claim Center, we have to send the that public ID to the document storage system so that it will search for that particular document in its system and it will send us back.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is also third party system. So we'll be talking about different third party systems throughout the course,
Okay.
and whatever has been written, whatever we need to write in the application layer, right? We need to there is a language named Gosu. So it is built on top of the Java language only. It is object oriented uh, language, and it is based on the OOPS concept.
Mhm.
Okay, it's just like some syntax differences are there, but not the major differences. This is our Guidewire Studio. Okay, so you will get all the files related to the project right in this pen, and you can see all the files related to the application layer, database layer, and the UI layer in this section. So I'll go through each and every section in detail, what each and every section contains, where are the classes written. Okay, so we'll cover all those. Let me close it. Okay, so let me go back to the PPT. So in database model, so suppose we have to create a new entity. So we call the database tables, right? We call it as an entity in the Guidewire, right? So whatever uh, tables which we are gonna create, right, in the database, we would be referring as an entity in the Guidewire, not the tables. Okay, so suppose we want to create a new table in the database, right? We don't do it directly in the database side. What we do, will create an entity inside the studio, and automatically the corresponding table will be database table will be created for that particular entity. So you can see that for AV contact, there is a entity which will contain the contact information, name, public ID, and create time. So these are the fields of this particular uh, entity, right? So public ID is nothing but the unique identifier for each object of this entity, right? And AV contact is the name of the entity. So as soon as we create an AV contact entity in the studio, okay, automatically a backend table will be created with the name of AB. AB is nothing but the application initials. This for training app we use AB, for policy center we use PC, for BC billing center we use BC, and claim center we use CC. Okay, so AB underscore AB contact, a table will be created with this name. Backend table will be created, and what would be stored in the column? Name, public ID, create time. So let me show you an example of the database entity in the Guidewire Studio. And I'll show you whatever is been shown here, right? I'll be showing you that particular entity only. So we in the extensions tab, we will have all the entities listed. Okay. These entities are nothing but the other tables which will be storing the data. So we are talking about the AV contact entity, right? So you can see here. So this is a view of the AV contact entity. If we want a new column to this particular entity, right, we can do it from here. We can uh, open the AV contact entity, and you can see there is a plus sign here. We can add the column. Okay. And suppose we want to give a column name, we can write the column name here. The type of the column, is it a varchar, or is it a, okay, is it a integer type, or is it a boolean type? So for boolean type we use bit, right? So type would be mentioned here. So similarly we need to mention the properties of the column. So in SQL what happens, right? We need to write an SQL query to add a column, right? But here it's not like that. So here, if we want to do some changes in the data model, right, we want to do the changes in the addition and the removal of the column, or addition of the removal of the tables, right, updation of the tables, we will be using the entities, those
You're
Guidewire
saying
entities.
if I create a column directly on the database, will it be reflected here?
No, it is not allowed.
Okay, so
I'll tell you. Mhm.
any DB changes, it has to be done from the
Yes,
ID.
yes.
Got
Any
it.
changes we have to do it from the ID, and there is a reason for that. So I'll tell you what reason it has. So as soon as we create an entity, right, as soon as we create an entity in the Guidewire, it will not only create the table here, also it will create a Java class, or .java class in the application server. Okay,
Mhm.
so we do not need to write the Pojo classes, plain old Java classes for that. It would be setters and getters would be automatically created for those. So you can see there would be an ab contact.java file would be there,
Mhm.
dot Java. So you can see already a class has been generated, then this is a read-only file, and which will contain all those properties which are listed in that particular entity. So you can use this particular file in your code to fetch the data from the database.
Mhm.
Right? This will
I
work as
see
a
the extension in entity, it's ETX and ETI. What is the difference?
yes. I'll be covering that in not in this session. We have a separate session for data model. So today's session is the basic introduction to the configuration. That's it. But I'll be showing you the difference between ETX and ETI files in the data model session.
Okay.
Probably tomorrow. Tomorrow
Mhm.
we'll be starting with the data model.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go back to the class. Okay. So internally, as soon as we create the entity, right, internally, this class will be created, which is nothing but the setters and getters, which we can reference in our code. Okay. And
And
that's
even
why
we're not supposed to change those classes.
we are not supposed to change these classes. If
Okay.
you want to change these classes, we have to create a new class, and then we have to uh, establish a parent and child relationship.
Mhm.
Right, in Java we have subtypes and super
Mhm.
types, right?
Mhm.
Similarly, we have to do that. So in
Okay.
in this training we'll be covering all those things, how we do that. So we have a concept of enhancements. If we
Mhm.
want to enhance the class, so we write enhancements, right?
Okay.
Or if we want to enhance the entities, if we want to add some properties which we do not want to reside in the database, but we want to have it as a virtual property, right? So that for those cases also enhancements are written.
Okay.
Okay. And next one is the PCF file. So PCF files are uh, you can reference the PCF file from the page configuration section. So all the PCF files would be mentioned here. PCF file is nothing but the UI file, the drag and drop file, for which we will use for creating different UI screens.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can see all the company related, okay, employees related fields are. This might be a table which will store the name, job title, and email address of the employee. So I'll be covering the PCF, what are the different types of PCF files and how these are configured in detail later.
Mhm.
So this is how it looks like, and it will be suffixed with .pcf.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can make the fields editable from the UI. So if you have editable fields in the UI, right? So if you are editing some value, right, in the UI, so it will go from the application layer, it will go to the database, it will update the value in the database.
Mhm.
So this is how these are interrelated. These three tiers are interrelated. Okay. So each center contains all these core three tier and the fourth tier integration mechanism. So all the centers are containing this. So we are specifically talking about the claim center. So we'll be focusing on the claim center only for this one. But each and every centers behaves in the same manner, keeping the development in mind.
Mhm.
Okay. And there are few topics which are very much specific, right, to a particular center. That for example, there for claim center, the specific topics are financials, claim maturity, group access, fraud detection. These are not present in the policy center, but in policy center we have product model, job flow. It is not present in the claim center. So apart from this common methodologies, right, data model, user interface, application logic, and integration mechanism, we have some separate specific uh, um, concepts as well. So Shamsher, you can also, if you have some question, right, you can also chime in, and you can ask me wherever you want.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. And similarly for with as we said, right, for all the three centers there are 4 tiers. So similarly in training app we would also have all the 4 common tiers present in it. That's why we study the development in the training app, as it is a lightweight application. So we have a data model in the training app. So what is data model? So data model is nothing but there are different entities in the different systems, right? Suppose in training app there are multiple entities like AB contact, address entity which will store the address of the contact. Okay, contact note, bank account which will store all the details of the bank account, right? So all these are stored in the entity format, and all these entities are interrelated to each other. These are connected to each other in with one or the other relationships. So we have studied, we might have heard about different relationships in SQL, right? So like a foreign key relationship, array key relationship, one-to-one relationship, right? One-to-many relationships. Similarly, in Guidewire data model also, we these entities are interrelated with each other, uh, having these relationships. So the common relationships which are used, right, are the foreign key relationship. Uh, Let me open a notepad. Common one are the foreign key relationship, array key relationship. So one-to-one very rarely used. Mostly we have foreign key and array key relationship in all the data model. And another type of relationship can be subtype and supertype. So this might be the new which you are hearing, right? Subtype and supertype. So as in Java, right, we have supertype and subparent and child relationship between the classes, right? So we have a class, and a class can inherit all the behaviors of some other class. In that case, we say that parent, it is inheriting all the behaviors of the parent class. So when we create an object of the child class, we can also access the properties and the methods of the parent class. Similar goes to here as well. So here also, in the entities we can have supertype and subtype relationships. Okay, so in Guidewire we use subtype and supertype relationships a lot. Suppose I'll give you an example. Suppose we have an AB contact entity, right? So AB contact entity is uh, the parent. So we have a contact. So it is a generic, right? And by seeing the AB contact, we are not able to identify which type of contact it is, right? So we in out of the box application for contact management. So for each type of the contact, we have different uh, subtypes available. Suppose we have a person type of contact. Okay, so there is a entity named AB person. There is a company type of contact, right? So there is a person named AB company. Okay, so these are the subtypes of the AB contact, and this is the super type. So what we understand from the super type is AB contact can have some generic fields like name, okay, email ID, email ID. Okay, but let's suppose say what AB person can have the SSN. Okay, SSN should not be available for a company, right? It is only applicable to a particular person. It's not applicable to a company, correct? So this field is unnecessary for AB company. That's why SSN field is not stored in the parent. Okay, that's why it is stored in the uh, child element of this child subtype of the AB contact entity. And AB company might also have some specific fields which are not available to other contact types like business ID. Okay, a company can have business ID, right? So these are the subtypes. So if we create an object So as we have seen, right? So in the backend .java class will be generated for all these entities, right? So if we create an object of, let's suppose, say AB contact entity, are we able to fetch the properties in the AB person entity with this particular object? So let's say this is the super type and this is a subtype, right? So are we gonna, we have an object of AB contact entity like AB contact object. Okay, so we have this object. So can we access this SSN with the AB contact object? No, right? Because
No,
yeah,
no.
because AB person is having all the fields related to the AB contact. Why? Because it is a super type. It is inheriting from the super type, but it is super type is not inheriting from the subtype, right? So if we are creating an object of the AB person object, we will be able to fetch the properties from the AB contact, that is name, because it's generic. The name, email ID is generic. So all the generic fields we place it in the super type, and all the specific fields we place it in the subtypes. I will tell you how to define the super types and how to define the subtypes in the Guidewire uh, in the data model session. And there is a separate subtype session, so we'll be defining that there. So you can see, in this data model, right? So training app is having relationship with the address entity. So you can see there is a one-to-many relationship. One-to-many relationship means the array key relationship. So AB contact can have multiple addresses. So one contact can have multiple addresses in it, right? Similarly, one contact can have multiple bank accounts. Okay, so we are having one-to-many relationships here. In Guidewire, we call one-to-many relationships as array key relationships. So if we want to see this relationship in the Guidewire Studio, we can see we can open the file and we can see the bank account table. You can see it's an array key. Bank account is the array key to the AB contact entity. And we have defined it in the, you can see, copy and see this particular bank account entity as well. It will have some separate fields. Okay, so these two entities are connected with one-to-many relationship, and this is how one-to-many relationship is formed. Okay, as an array key. If we want to form a foreign key relationship, then we have to, from drop down, we have to select the foreign key. Okay, and then we can define the entity name with which we want to have the foreign key relationship. So whatever relationships we are creating here, right, it will reflect the database in the tables. So we have talked about the subtype and the super type hierarchy, right? So it is talking about that here as well. So AB contact is the super type. It can have multiple subtypes: AB person, company, and AB place. Okay, AB person further can have different subtype. There can be different type of persons available, right? Adjudicator, vendor, and a policy person, right? So similarly, it is something which we can have a hierarchy. It's not like a child cannot act as a parent to other children, right? It can be multi-level. Okay, so in Java we have seen, right, multi-level inheritance. So it's similar to that. Okay, okay, this shows our uh, training app screen, how it looks like. So I've already started the server for the training app for you guys, just to cut down the wastage of the time. So the training app would be hosted in this particular URL local. If you are setting up training app in your local, it will be hosted in the 8880 port. Okay. Okay, so you can, there is a default username and password SUGW. and you can log in with that. This is how our training app looks like. So once you do your training app setup, right, you just try to load the sample data. Okay, so right now our training app doesn't contain any data in it, right? So we need to load the sample data. So if we want to do some operations, right, we need to have some data in hand, right? So for that, we'll go to the internal tools, and then we'll click on AB sample data, and then one by one we'll load the sample data. We'll load the sample data from here, and once it is loaded, then we'll load the contacts, and we'll load the additional training sample data as well. So there are multiple places where we can write the Gosu language. One place is the PCF method. So the PCF files, right, which I shown you. So there are PCF files, right, which are specifically for the UI. So those PCF files, uh, inside those we can use the Gosu. Inside the enhancements, I have told you about the enhancements, right? If you want to, and there is already read only class, right, for the generated entities. So if we want to enhance those classes, we need to write the enhancement. So Gosu is written when we write the enhancements. Gosu is written when we write the methods and inside the Gosu classes. There is a script parameter concept. So there also the Gosu language is used. Widget attribute. So widget attribute is a concept in the PCF file where we need to map the data in the PCF file. So we'll be covering all these topics in detail in the later sessions. So I know it might be 80% you are getting right now, but yes, we will cover everything in detail further. So for now, you can understand that Gosu is used everywhere, starting from the querying, starting from the UI, and starting and from to the application layer. Right? So you will get a zip file for training app. You will get not a zip file. I think you will get an executable file. So you from Cloud Foundation will get an executable file. When you click on this, double click on this executable file, right? So it will extract all the files related to the training app, and you can place it anywhere. So I have placed it here inside this block. Okay. So if when it is unzipped, these are the different files which opens up, right? And this is a folder structure, and from Studio you can see the similar folder structure here. Okay. So whatever you are able to see here in the Studio, right, it will be stored in the modules folder inside the configuration here. Okay. So you can see all these folders here. Okay, so you can see plugins. For plugins, there is a plugin concept, right? So all the plugins are written in the Guidewire in this. All the PCF files are created in this PCF location. Okay, all the entities are stored in the here in the extensions tab. Entities. Okay. Any questions up till here?
So we'll be getting this zip file today.
Yes, I'll check with the team and I'll tell them to send it to you on priority. So then that you can go ahead and you can start with the setup. Okay. So you have to use, let me write it in a notepad so you can also take the screenshot of it. What you have to do is you have to install Java first. Okay. You will get the Java from the Oracle website and install 1.8.0. U92. 8U92, sorry. 8U92. Try to install this version. Java 8U92. So okay, or it will also be listed, it can also be listed as 1.8.092. That can also be, this is how it can be listed. Okay, once the Java is installed, you need to set the environment variable.